This is the part of the video that I'm supposed to talk really loud and fast in order to get your attention. Well, hey everybody, my name is Tom Ryan and welcome to my channel. My name's not even Tom Ryan, but this is YouTube, so anything goes. Except for white, straight Christian males. Ah, come on, Tom, you're not allowed to say that. You're gonna get demonetized. Well, hey there, my name's Tom Ryan and welcome to this video. Do you like filmmaking, photography, skateboarding, tech, content creation?
Everything you just said is my favorite thing to do every day.
Well, considering you're interested in all those different things, you might as well click that subscribe button down below and be on the lookout for new videos. Today I'm going to teach you how to easily color grade in Premiere Pro and make it look really cinematic. I find that 90% of people that are watching videos like this are actually shooting their footage improperly, which makes things hard to color grade. That's what I was doing in the beginning, and that's what I find a lot of people are doing now. Bad shots are hard to save with color grading, but good shots are actually really easy to color grade. There's 3 things you're going to want to nail while you're shooting your footage to make the color grading process as easy as possible. Out of those 3 things, the more that you do properly, the easier it's going to be to color grade. Number 1 is good exposure. Now you can click up here to find that and watch that. It's not entirely about how to get proper exposure, but it'll teach you the basics of exposing your photos and your videos. You can find tons of videos on YouTube to learn how to properly expose your footage. Number 2 is good lighting, and good lighting is going to be able to make or break your shot. No amount of color grading is really going to be able to save a shot that has bad lighting. Number 3 is white balance. I also have a video on that. You can click up here to find that and learn how white balance works and how to get it done right. It might also be a good idea to color calibrate your monitors, but unless you're doing professional shoots, it's not necessary. Now let's jump over to the computer, go into Adobe Premiere Pro, and get started. Alright, so here we are in Premiere Pro, and I have a few clips set up right here from a bunch of different shoots that I've done. So here's what I used to do when color grading. I would just come to the basic correction tab and start playing with the sliders. So I'd adjust my contrast, and maybe I'd adjust my highlights a little bit. It's a little bit too much. Come back down with the shadows and bring exposure back all the way, bring the blacks up, and then saturation, and then yeah, there you go. This is what you shouldn't do. You never want to trust your eye when you're color grading. Every monitor is different, every device, every display is different. What's gonna look good on this monitor is gonna look significantly different on my phone or on my TV or anything like that. So you always wanna make sure that you're not just using your eye to look at your color grading and see what's good, and basically you just don't want to eyeball it. What we're going to use is the computer software that's built in to tell us what's good and what's... Shut up, phone! We're going to use the software that's built into the computer to tell us what's good and what isn't. The tool we're going to use is called Scopes, and it basically comes with every single program that you can color grade with. So DaVinci Resolve, Premiere Pro, After Effects even has Scopes in it. Pretty much any editing software that you're going to get, Final Cut Pro, they're all gonna have Scopes involved in the software. If you watch any other tutorials on color grading and they're not using Scopes, just click away. It doesn't mean that it's a bad tutorial, it's probably gonna teach you something, but you're not gonna be able to color grade without Scopes, and your videos are probably gonna look underexposed or bad on any other display that you play it on. So Lumetri Scopes. In order to get Lumetri Scopes up, you wanna come to Window and then click... Wait. What are we clicking? Lumetri Scopes. Yeah, Lumetri Scopes. So make this a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna explain to you what this is. If you don't see this, right click and go to Presets and click Waveform RGB. And then this is gonna come up, which is different than what I just had up. So right click again and do Waveform Type and do Luma. This is just what I work with. I've used Waveform RGB before, but you use that for a completely different thing. Not really, but you can use it for a different thing, but I just like, when I'm doing color grading, I like to use the Waveform Luma because everything's just simple and easy to see. So unless you've used this before, you probably have no idea what's going on. So there's numbers on the left and numbers on the right. We're gonna focus on the numbers on the left. This is 100, this is 0. Now that we've learned that, we can move on. All right, so this is 100 and this is 0. Basically what these are values for your image. 0 is absolute black and 100 is absolute white. Everything in the middle is basically your midtones. So 100, anything up top is gonna be like your highlights, and anything going down low towards 0 is gonna be your shadows or your blacks. Any dark part of your scene. So what this is saying is on the left side of our frame, we have some highlights going up towards clipping, and then some shadows coming down towards clipping too. And then on the right side of our frame, we have majority is just midtones. So now that we've covered that, you're probably like, okay, great, but what does this even tell me? I don't even understand. It's just it's a white blob of nothing that tells me nothing. All right, we're getting there, okay? Getting there. So just chill the hell out. So the first step is basic corrections. And this is called color correcting. Color correcting equals exposure, changing exposure values, making sure the white balance is good, and stuff like that. Now, color grading is the stylizing of a shot and image, you know, adding like a filmic look or adding some color into certain areas of the scene that makes it moody, like red or blue or something like that. So we're gonna start with the basic corrections just to lay the groundwork, essentially. So I'm gonna reset this, and we're gonna come over here, and this is from a wedding that I shot. It's just the groom putting his belt on, putting stuff on. So as you can see, when we reset this, our highlights are actually clipping and our shadows are just barely not clipping. So what do we want to do? We want to go to color wheels and match. So now you have all three color wheels. You have the shadows, the highlights, and the midtones. So if we go to shadows, shadows are here. Highlights are what's clipping right there up top, and midtones are pretty much everything in the center. So the main things we want to do are make sure that our highlights aren't clipping, our shadows aren't clipping, and our midtones are at a nice medium. Specifically when we're working with people, you want to make sure skin tones are kind of like somewhere around like 50 to 70 IRE. Actually, I can go 80 IRE, but that's what these are, by the way, IRE. It's like a value. So 50 to 80 IRE. 50 is really pushing it. It's a little bit dark. It depends on your scene, but anything under that, no. And 90 is just, that's gonna blow out your image and you're gonna start looking like Casper. So even though we're clipping, I shoot on Sony, and most Sony cameras can actually bring back some of the information that we've lost. I don't really know how that works, but and I don't know if Canon or like I know Panasonic can do it. I don't know if Canon cameras can do that, but I know that Sony can. So even though these are above 100, and in theory we shouldn't be able to get them back, we can come to this highlight slider right here and just bring it down, and that information is retained now. So we went from that, where you can see these highlights are just overexposed and blown out, to that where now it's come back down to a reasonable image where we can actually see the detail. So now our highlights are not clipping and our shadows aren't clipping. We can bring them down a little bit more if we want to, and that's a nice value right there. And then for our skin tones, what we want to do is we want to come to opacity right here, and we're going to make a mask. Now adjust it to just be over part of the skin, the part of the skin that's exposed by light, not the darker parts that have fallen into shadows. We want to make sure we're capturing the value of whatever part of the skin's getting hit by light. And so we can see right here that our skin is around 79, almost 80 IRE. We can bring that down a little bit if we wanted to in the midtone slider, but I'm gonna leave it like that because I like my skin tones to actually be a little bit brighter than most people. So you can delete that mask now, and this is now a balanced image. So one thing you might have noticed right off the bat is that this image is well lit. This image was already properly exposed, which means we didn't have to do really anything as far as adjusting the highlights or the shadows. It was really, really simple. And our white balance is good. The skin looks good. The colors aren't weird. There's no color shift at all. So this is a good image to start with. And that's kind of what color grading is, essentially, is taking a really, really good image, a well-shot image, a well-formed image that's already got proper exposure, proper white balance, and just kind of taking the colors and playing with them, and taking the exposure values and playing with them. And now that we have a properly balanced image, we can go into color grading. If you want to add a little bit more contrast, you can go up to curves and do this little S curve. So we bring this point right up here on this crosshair right here, basically. Bring it up a little bit. That'll bring the highlights up a bit. And then come to this opposite crosshair and bring this down. That'll bring the shadows down. So basically this midpoint is the midtones. Everything going up and to the right of that is highlights, and everything going down and to the left of that is shadows. So this is pure black and this is pure white. That's just kind of how those values work. The last thing you want to do in color correction, which I didn't have to do because my white balance was already good, if there's any color shifting in your shot, you didn't set your white balance properly, or maybe it was just a little bit off, you want to come to basic correction and play with this temperature slider. So if it's too orange, you want to bring it more to the blue, and if it's too blue, you want to bring it more to the orange. If there's a green cast or a purple cast, you want to play with this. And maybe you want to add a little bit of saturation. Let's go into grading. Before we jump into color grading, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Grillshare. Grillshare has over 20,000 courses on grilling, from how to make a grilled cheese sandwich to the basic fundamentals of grilling and everything in between. For only around $10 a month, there's over 10,000 hours of material that you can learn from. But if you use the coupon code NOTVEGAN, you can get 10% off your first year. So now we're going to color grade, and you don't need the scopes open for this. We will later when we've kind of refined the rest of the image. We want to tweak it a little bit more, but for the beginning stages of grading, I don't think you really need your scopes open, not at least for this version of what I'm doing. This is a basic, easy, quick version of color grading. So what I always do when we jump into color grading is I add what's called a LUT. It's a lookup table. Basically, somebody creates a style for you, creates a stylistic choice of, I want this, this, and this in my image. I want the blues to look like this. I want the greens to look. We're kind of just stylizing it for you. And they make a preset, and you can enter that into your video. You can put it on your video clip. There's tons of free LUTs online that you can find. Just go on Google and type in free LUTs. But there's also a bunch of paid LUTs. They're pretty cheap. They can be cheap. They're not always cheap, but you can just look around. You'll find something. Just find something that you like. You know, if you like Sam Colder, you can do like orange and blue like he does. If you want to do like dark and moody, Film Riot has a really awesome horror LUT pack. It's really awesome. I've never used it, so I don't know, but they're really awesome, so it probably is really awesome. So just go online and find something that you like. There's a bunch of different LUTs online that you can find. You can go through, you can search them up. You'll find something, don't worry. So let's basically just make this process much easier. Instead of taking hours upon hours, sometimes hours upon hours of, you know, highlights should be yellow and shadows should be blue and blah, 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 and let's go and have a party. All you have to do is find something that you like, find a preset of it, and add it to your video. Don't think this is cheating either. 99% of the YouTubers that you watch are using LUTs when they color grade their footage, and a lot of filmmakers in Hollywood, actually, colorists and directors, like to start off with a LUT and go from there. So don't think this is cheating in any way, it's not. So to get your LUT on your video, go to Creative and then go to Look. You're gonna click on this drop down, and unless you've loaded it, you need to hit Browse, and you're gonna browse for your LUT wherever you saved it. It should be like a .cube file, or it could be like a it could be a bunch of different files, but cube is the most common file extension for LUTs. I've actually loaded my LUT into Premiere. Go on YouTube, go on Google, find out how to do that on your own. I'm not gonna go through that right now. For me, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna use this WIR LUT that I got from White and Reverie, one of my favorite filmmaking duos of all time. They're freaking amazing. So just click on that, and what you'll notice is this drastically changed. So here's what we can notice, right? His pants, his blazer, this guy's pants, the background, even the whites a little bit have gotten significantly more blue and cooler, kind of like a cooler tone. And his skin has gotten significantly more orange. This is the most common color scheme. Blue and orange, they're contrasting colors. This is just a LUT that I got online, and I knew going into it that this was gonna look like this. That's why I chose it. I really love this look, but this is gonna make, automatically you can tell, this makes your footage look way more cinematic. It goes from that, which kind of almost looks like digital video, to that, which is like, okay, now we're watching a feature film on the big screen. Now this is a little bit much, and 99% of the time your LUTs are gonna be a little bit much. You're gonna say, oh, that's a little bit too intense. I wish it wasn't so intense. Wait, what's this word right here? Intensity, that's what you do. This is what you grab onto, this little notch here. I'm gonna go to like 70% intensity, and that brings it down to a nice level that I like. So if you go back and forth, that's before and that's after. And dude, we could leave this right here. That is like, that's done now. We can kind of just leave that if we wanted to. This would be, I would be fine with giving this to one of my clients or posting this on YouTube. That's all do you see how quickly that was? I know I've been talking for a while, but what did we do? We adjusted the highlights, the shadows, and the midtones. We possibly corrected our white balance, and then we added a LUT, which is a preset, and then we set it to 70. That's like 6 seconds we just did that whole thing. So the next part of color grading is just basic tweaks. So we're gonna, this little faded film thing here, you can make it faded, you can make it not faded. Some people think that faded looks more like film, so I might add like, I might add like 20% fade. No, too much. All right, 15% fade. And that's literally all color grading is. We're just playing with the looks that we like. We're playing with the looks that we want to get. Like, what do I want for this scene? Do I want orange and blue? Do I want pink and purple? Do I want green and, I don't know, freaking magenta? This is just basically what color grading is. It's playing with stuff that you like. So now we can go back and play with our color temperature a little bit. If we want to make this warmer, we can. If it's too warm, let's make it more blue. I personally like what we're getting here because it's kind of warm, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like, oh, it's a wedding. This was a wedding, so that makes sense. And you're just gonna kind of play with everything in here now. So if you want more purple in there, yeah, that's cool. You want more orange in there. Yeah, like Peter McKinnon says, he looks like he has jaundice. But I'm 100% cool with just this. Play with your contrast a little bit. Maybe you want more contrast. Maybe you want to brighten this up. I'm not going to. Highlights, maybe whatever. Play with what you want. Maybe it's not saturated enough, bring that up a little bit. Maybe it's too saturated, bring it down a little bit. That's literally the gist of it. That's all. Yeah, I mean, sharpening, vibrance, whatever. Play with stuff, and that's the most basic way of color grading. And then the last step, like I said, we're gonna go back into our scopes and we're gonna make sure that LUT didn't do anything that it wasn't supposed to do. So our highlights are not clipping and our shadows are not clipping either. Maybe we wanna actually go in and raise these highlights a little bit and bring these shadows back down, because it actually did bring them down or up a little bit, and you're just gonna play with that. I don't like that look anymore. That's too contrasty, so I'm gonna bring it back down. So there you go. Just play with whatever, play with it and have fun with it, but you need a good starting point. So I'll bring some of these other clips in and you can see what they look like. So this is a church service that I shot. What you can do is actually come over to this clip, go to Effect Controls and click Copy, and then paste it onto here, and now you have that look on there. And maybe you don't like this, maybe it's a little bit too much. I personally like what's going on here, except I want to saturate a little bit more. But now you have a good starting point for your grading, because you've already done your grading. So now you're going to reverse engineer it. You're going to go back and make sure your white balance is good, and you're going to make sure your exposure is good. So because this is a darker scene, we're going to get stuff like this in the scopes. When we look at it, it's not going to be too bright, but we can brighten this up a little bit. So the highlights can come up. They can go up, and that looks good. Don't clip, make sure they don't clip, of course. Her skin looks a little bit bright, so I'm gonna bring that down. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of saturation because I think it's not good enough. And there you go, there's that clip, and that took 4 seconds. And let's do this with this last clip. This was another wedding that I shot. Paste that onto there. Looks okay. I'm just gonna mess with the shadows, bring those up a little bit. Their skin is too dark, so I'm gonna bring it up. And we have highlights in the background that are clipping. But if we look at our video, we can see they're all the way in the background, and there's just nothing we can do about them unless we're gonna screw up the entire thing. Her dress is nice. Her dress is not overexposed in any way. I'm gonna come in and bring a little bit more saturation into there because it's a wedding. We want it to be like nice and green and nice and pretty. Their skin is a little bit orange, so I'm gonna bring it back to -3, just doing that with the temperature dial, and that looks a little bit better. There you go, man. That took 6 seconds to do 2 other clips. I mean, as long as you properly expose, get your white balance on point, and have good lighting. I mean, look at all 3 shots had good lighting, properly exposed, and white balance was on point. You take 10 minutes and your whole video is color graded. Boom! Hopefully you learned something from this tutorial. This is where I go back to talking really loud and fast. Leave a comment down below if you've enjoyed, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you watch all my videos forever because I need money. Monetization. Buy my merch. I don't have any, but buy it. Seriously though, tell me in the comments down below if you found this video helpful. Also, I want to know, what's your favorite color grading style? Light and saturated or dark and moody? Tell me down below. Hit subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more content like this. But that's going to do it for this one, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Shane Dawson.